We're looking at 209 and going to 213, the middle there after petunt. A sound is made with or from the spewing or foaming sea salt, foaming sea water. And already they were holding the fields. And having filled, having suffused their burning eyes, their ardent eyes with blood and fire, they were licking their hissing mouths with flickering tongues. We, bloodless at the sight, scatter in all different directions. They, by a sure line, by a certain or deliberate line, course, head for Laocoon. And this, there's so much to say here. So we get the sound relayed to us, the crashing of the waves maybe, and it's a great excuse for Virgil to fit in some S sounds here so that we get the alliteration or perhaps the onomatopoeia that is repeated all throughout this passage with the snakes, with the S sounds. Fit sonitus spum monte salo. And so effective there. Look at 210. Ardentesque oculos effecti sanguine, or sanguinet igne. So there's a great coupling there with the S sounds and then the E's, the E sounds that accompany it in 210. Also, we have the imagery. He says it right here, right? Blood and fire. We have this imagery. Think about the Bernard Knox article, that seminal work, The Serpent and the Flame, the imagery of Book 2. Fantastic work by Virgil here to give us not a multi-sensory experience and really have us imagine this horrible scene that's playing out in front of us, this remarkable scene that's playing out in front of us. Yam, really effective here already. So they were heading towards the shore heading, but already they're there. They were tene bonting the Arwa. And as we have seen before, things are ardent. Things, we're using ardeo in the present active participle to describe, but here they're eyes. Remember earlier, the Tyrians were ardent as they went about their business. Suffecti, let's talk about this for a second. This is a perfect passive participle. It is not supposed to have a direct object. We're supposed to say having been filled. And so you'll get some commentaries that'll say having been filled with respect to their eyes, their burning eyes, with blood and fire. So these are accusatives of respect after this perfect passive participle. What I explain to my students, and this is a bit of an oversimplification, but I think it's accurate, is we're going to just sort of fake this and pretend that this is a deponent verb. So having suffused, having filled their eyes with. And what is essentially happening here is that highly literate Romans that knew Greek and Latin and knew them both fluently, knew that Greek had a mediopassive voice. And those mediopassive participles and verbs could take direct objects. Latin doesn't have this, and so there's a bit of a nod to what Greek can do that Latin couldn't. And so Virgil, for lack of a better word in my vocabulary at least, he's sort of faking it here, and so he's saying having suffecti their oculos with blood and fire, they were lambe bonting their sibylla ora with flickering tongues, and there's a nice chiasmus there. I love this part too, 212. So Latin verbs are sometimes a little bit more visual, a little bit more specific than in English. So we don't just flee, we scatter. We don't fugio, we don't effugio, we dis, and that dis prefix here means in different directions. So we scatter, we flee, we run away in different directions, and we are ex sangues, bloodless, just as corpses are, just as dead people are. They are the ones that are suffused with blood. So the Trojans are already dead. This is sealing their fate right here and now. And in contrast to we, who scatter in all different directions, those snakes, they are coming at Laocoon by a very deliberate and certain course.